Good evening, Mr. Etter. Thank you for meeting with me today to discuss your child's scores in 7th grade. This score presentation is also in partial fulfillment of the EFD 620 class at Jacksonville State University program. I'm in the teacher leader program for teacher specialist degree, and my instructor is Dr. Stacy Gill. So thank you for coming today.
Thank you for having me.
All right. Your daughter is Zoe Etter. She just finished 7th grade at White Plains Middle School. The information you give me is she's a 13-year-old Caucasian female student, and we are looking at her data for the advanced ELA class. You tell me your student is also involved in various extracurricular activities, including robotics, band, choir, piano, golf, and dance.
Correct.
Here's a picture of how this year started and how it ended. She's a beautiful girl.
Thank you. She's grown a lot.
She has grown a lot. It looks like she has really just grown this year. But let's see how she grew based on her data that we look at based on assessments.
Okay.
In 6th grade, at the end of 6th grade, she scored a level 3 in ACAP. She had an end of the year grade equivalency of 7 and a middle of the year grade equivalency of 7.2, and an English and reading class grades of A. All of this data is what qualified her for the advanced ELA class for 7th grade. Okay. Are there any questions you have about her data?
Yeah, so when in the middle of the year, you say, is that like after Christmas break, or when exactly is that?
It is usually around February, so we come back from Christmas break, the students have had at least one full semester of instruction, and then they're back in routine after Christmas, so about February.
And that GE stands for what?
Grade equivalency.
And that's that would say she's like reading. She was a 7.2. So is that telling me that her scores dropped?
They did drop a little bit, and I'll show you a chart in just a minute so you'll see her growth throughout 7th grade. Sometimes as the year progresses, the standards get a little bit higher, so sometimes you see growth and a little bit of drop based on as the standards of proficiency scales change.
Okay.
All right, so here's that chart I was telling you about. So as you can see, this green line is her pathway to proficiency. That represents the growth for a student who minimally achieves proficiency on the ACAP. Proficiency is a 3. Zoe is well up here, nearly 40 scaled score points above that projected path, which is awesome. She started the year in September below that line, but still above proficiency, projected proficiency. And then she grew above it, and then she did end the year a little bit lower, but these scores, these purple dots, these data points also reflect this right here. We don't know what her ACAP score is yet, but as of right now, her score is probably going to be a 4, which is growth from last year.
So what do these numbers over here represent?
That's a scaled score. It's a number that STAR uses to evaluate how well they're doing. Each scaled score has a window of grade equivalency. So if they're within a specific scaled score set, then that identifies the grade equivalency.
Okay.
As you can see, her end of the year score was 9.2. Her middle of the year score was 8.6. Even though it looks like her March score was higher, it depends on that projection right there of proficiency. So that changes a little bit. So she is well ahead, and she continued to have an A in advanced ELA. So she will qualify to continue in advanced ELA in 8th grade.
Okay.
Is that what your hopes were?
Yes.
Okay. All right, so I know as a teacher, we understand the assessment. All right, so as a parent, I know that was a lot of numbers and a lot of graphs. And as a parent, you may not understand the full gamut of what we do as teachers to assess your child. We like to use data, which are numbers. What is your occupation?
I'm a golf professional.
Okay, so golf pro, typically golfers want to hit par, correct? So what is par?
PAR is basically an achievement score representing how hard or how tough a golf course is.
Okay. So that is what we're looking for in these scores. We want to see that we are above par. Are at par or where we need to be. You can see this would be our par line here, and she is achieving well above that. So she's assessed by using star reading interim assessments to predict ACAP scores. And ACAP is our state mandated high stakes testing. Students practice skills that need intervention, which is tier 2, based on response to intervention, using quill.org and IXL. IXL is a county program that we implement in Calhoun County schools for intervention, and then quill.org is a program that I use specifically in my classroom for writing.
Okay.
And then finally, your student responds to general class instruction, which is considered tier 1, by successfully completing class assignments, essays, and tests, which you saw with her grade as an A.
So tier 1 would be the highest.
Tier 1 is what we want 80% of our students to be achieving typically. And then we look at the data and we see maybe the lowest 20% or the lowest 20% of their own scores to see what they might need intervention in. So these are the things that we're assessing. And you can see on this, we look at critical literacy, digital literacy, research literacy, and vocabulary literacy.
Okay.
And you can see this is where she ended this year, and that's all in the green, which is great on showing mastery of all of these state standards and domains.
Okay.
This is a quote from the text that we're using for my class. It says, "How you measure must always match what you measure." If she is showing these grades in proficiency, that should reflect what her grades are in Power School, in the grade book. If she were showing red down here, then you would see lower grades in the grade book. If she were showing red down here but showing higher grades in the grade book, that may mislead you as to what her achievements are. So we want to make sure that matches.
Okay.
All right, so some celebrations. Zoe worked really hard this year and she developed some great study habits. This is a report of the skills that she studied using IXL. She demonstrated mastery on several. You can see 100s down through here. She demonstrated mastery on. There's some that she probably could use some more practice on, and we'll talk about those in just a minute. But also you can see how long it took her to master and how many questions it took. So look at this one right here. Is the sentence simple, compound, complex, or compound, complex? It took her 123 questions to master that. So that means she really had to work through that to be able to master that. But she persevered and was able to master that skill. That same skill was shown in her beginning starter baseline diagnostic on Quill. You can see right here, particularly in sentence structure, she struggled with compound subjects, objects, and predicates because those can make the sentences look different than other sentences. But you can see right here, all proficient on her practices, and these range from grade 3 to grade 9. So you can see that is what helped move her up to that GE of 9.
Right.
Are there any questions you have about her strengths or weaknesses?
No, I'm glad to see that she's improving and getting more intelligent throughout the year as it went along.
She worked really hard. So her next steps, what are your plans for her going forward?
Just to help her academic abilities grow.
What are some things that you would like to see her do in the future?
She stays involved. She stays involved in a lot of extracurricular activities. She works hard in her class. I want to see her continue that kind of process.
Okay. These are some suggestions that I have for next steps based on reviewing this data. Going forward, your child should continue to implement study skills and habits developed through 7th grade to balance academic growth with extracurricular activities, like you said. Your child has shown continued improvement and is projected for continued success as she begins to prepare for the transition to high school. So as you see, her test scores are already showing high school levels, so she should be able to make that transition confidently. ACAP scores will not be reported until next fall, and you'll receive a copy of those scores with the quarter one grades. And her teacher will be able to analyze that data at the beginning of the school year to decide if she is in need of any intervention or reteaching before being able to grasp the 8th grade standards.
Now, I have a question. If I notice that her scores are decreasing, what is something that I can do to?
You can talk to her teacher, and she can give you, there are several different reports that she can give you and several different ways she can practice. Again, IXL is the county recommended way. You can help her at night at home on those IXL skills. And then she can give you a list of specific skills that she needs to focus on.
Okay.
Any other questions?
No, that's all.
Are you satisfied with your child's progress?
I think she's done well.
I'm very proud of her too. And the references from the quote and just the different things that we included are from Boric's Educational Testing and Measurement 12th edition.
Okay.
All right. Thank you so much for coming
Thank you
today.
for having me on.
All right. Thank you.